Action. All right, we're recording. Do you hear that voice too when I start that?
Yes.
Okay, good. I like to imagine that I'm the only one hearing voices. um, so Annie Mascola back in the house, professor of writing and doctor of whatever.
All things are ridiculous. Yes.
We're back. You're back on the show. This time, I'm kind of just putting the focus. Let me remind people. You have a podcast. People are the enemy. Link down below in the info. So if you're not following that podcast, what's your problem, Adam Savage viewer? You need to go follow that podcast. Get over there and follow it. Oh, what did you say? Are you filming your? Not filming. Are you recording your podcast today?
No, I did one. I did one yesterday, actually, with Dan Eastman, who is a writer who wrote this book. Actually, I'll show you the book, and I can kind of get away with this because this is really interesting. Okay, I got to show you this book. Hang on, and there's a little story that goes with it. Okay,
it's Watertown, right?
It's Watertown. Like you saw the book, right?
Yeah, on Twitter. I remember.
Okay. Because I'll show you my copy, and which you saw on Twitter. So okay. It's cool that I show it here. But the story goes, all right, this is Dan Eastman's book, Watertown. Okay. You'll notice the tree.
Right.
In Watertown, New York, that's where those air fresheners came from. Okay. There was a fellow that fled Nazi Germany. I can't think of his name offhand, but he basically invented those air freshener trees. And the publisher of this book, Back Patio Press, wanted to use the air freshener on the cover of Dan Eastman's book. And they called the company, which is Air Freshener, which is like Freshener. There's no E in the middle. And somebody who worked there said, if they use that symbol, then they're going to get their asses sued off. So I guess they published a few copies like this. And I was fortunate enough to get an advanced reader copy like this before they pulled them all and then republished it with the cover that it is now. I think it's like a car or something like that. But interesting story. So anyway, I had him on the show yesterday and we talked. He read a bunch of these pieces. They're very good, very funny. If you like Richard Brautigan type poetry, I don't know if you know who Richard Brautigan is, Adam, or if you've ever read him.
Isn't he an actor? I feel like that name is like a
No,
name.
it sounds like he'd be an actor. No, Richard Brautigan, he was sort of like late period beat, like a beat author, essentially. And ultimately, I think committed suicide in like 1982, kind of tragic. But he wrote these kind of like very strange poems that were really, really funny, and just idiosyncratic. And Dan's a lot like that, just like darkly funny poetry. Really good stuff.
Well, it's an appropriate guest because our focus this time is more your writing. But if you have a writer over on your show, then that's maybe a good lead-in. So people, I don't know when. Today we're filming this on July 4th, but maybe I'll release this on July 5th, which is when that episode of People Are the Enemy, Pate is going up.
Yes. Yeah. So it went well. It was a fun time. He read a bunch of pieces, and basically the way I worked this interview, and we kind of worked this out beforehand, is I asked him a couple of preliminary questions, and then I kind of just teed him up, and I said, "Hey man, would you mind reading this piece?" And then he'd read it, and of course the pieces were always funny and always sort of about his own life in one way or another, or his interests. And then we just kind of delve into that. Always about Watertown, New York. And I even mentioned yourself and the fact that we talked about the Watertown album by Frank Sinatra on an episode of People Are the Enemy. So we talked about that for a bit too.
Yeah, that was an uncanny coincidence when that came up.
Yeah, and Adam, I hadn't even picked up on it till you pointed it out. Like when I posted the picture of Dan's book, and you were like, "Yeah, Watertown. That's Watertown, New York." Just like the Frank Sinatra album we literally talked about like a month and a half ago, and I was like, "Oh my God, yeah!" I had no idea. I didn't put that together, but I'm glad you did.
I think people should just read that book and listen to the album at the same time. It'd be the full Watertown experience.
Can you like read a book and listen to an album simultaneously? Are you able to do that?
Me personally, oh,
Yeah.
I thought you were asking
No,
me
I'm not like
if
don't need
that's
to like
physically
anybody. I know
possible.
lots of people can do lots of crazy things, but no, I mean yourself. Can you? Because you're one a reader, and number two, you're a huge music guy too. Can you listen to an album, like say a brand new album with vocals,
Right.
and read like a novel? Say not. I'm not saying like a graphic novel or anime or anything like or manga or something like that. Just could you read like a novel and listen to like a new album with lyrics that you've never heard before?
I think that'd be challenging because you'd keep pulling me away. So I don't normally do that, but hey, anything's possible, I guess. It's
Yeah, I can't, man. I had like I can listen to instrumental music while I read, and I could listen to like an album that I've heard like a bunch of times and know pretty well from beginning to end, while I read like a graphic novel. Like a graphic novel is able to obviously, with the images, able to like I don't have to use that part of my mind, I suppose. And hearing the vocals in the background, I can do that, okay. But I could never like listen to like a brand new album with lyrics I'd never heard and try to read a book that I've never read before. I
Yeah,
can't.
that'd be overwhelming. Yeah, but I was just
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
give the estate of Frank Sinatra an idea, so they might, come up with a package with Dan's book and the CD. Like, hey, the Watertown package, get the full Watertown experience.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
But
man. They should jump on that.
all right,
No, for real.
enough about these other people. We're focusing today on your books. You have how many books at this point? So you have a book coming out very soon. Are you have you released the title
Oh,
yet?
yeah.
I haven't heard you say the
I,
title.
I haven't. I haven't said the
Okay.
title. I haven't even like. I haven't released any images. I literally saw some preliminary sketches for the cover that a friend is working on for me.
Uh-huh.
And I won't even say this person's name because this person sometimes does art under an alias, and I'm not sure if this person. I keep saying this person because I don't want to give away their, anything. But this person sometimes does art under an alias, and I'm not sure if this person will use their alias for my cover or not. But needless to say, I saw the preliminary sketches for the cover, and I was like so excited. I was like, "Oh my god, this is gonna be great! This is gonna be so
Cool.
good!" I'm so excited. Yeah,
you like to just like kind of keep it under wraps until
I
it's
do.
ready.
I do, man. Like I'll tell you, like, and this is a book that you just read of mine, "Kissing Oblivion," which came out in 2014. No, 2015, I think.
I
Anyway,
thought it was later.
it might have been. Shit, I want to say maybe 2015, 2016.
I wish I had a print copy. I have it on my Kindle, but let me see. I think it was 2016. I want to say.
Okay.
I also have another one of your books that's even older, Unmagnificent Lives.
Oh dear, yeah.
But I haven't started that yet.
I say oh dear because that was the first one. Ooh.
Oh, that's your first one. I
Start
didn't realize
somewhere.
that.
No, I'm proud of all my books. There's some rough parts in that one for sure. But I was gonna say, like Kissing Oblivion, when I came up with that title, first of all, it was 2 words, and I wasn't able to find anything else that had that title, either books or music or anything or films. And I just thought to myself, I don't want to tell anybody this title because I'm afraid it's too good and somebody will take it. Like I literally just made myself paranoid thinking like, oh my God, Kissing Oblivion. That's such a great title. Like I was just so like, I just wrote it down. I don't think I told like my parents, you know what I mean? I was just terrified that somebody would like take it before I had a chance to publish it. As if somebody's just like written a book that they spent like months and months on, or just like waiting to take somebody's title. Like that doesn't happen. But honestly, yeah. So I've just gotten in the habit of just keeping things like under wraps until like the very last minute. I've got a great title for this upcoming book also, and I'm excited about it. And it's sort of the same thing. Like I don't want to like release it because I'm afraid somebody will title it. And in all fairness, man, people put out like albums every week now. You know what I mean? The same artist could put out like 3 albums on Bandcamp in a week, and they could be just, oh yeah, that's a good title. I'll grab that and use that for my thing. So hell no, they're not taking my title out, Adam. Come on.
Well, I think
Go ahead.
I think you should be excited about it. If you're not excited about something, why release it?
Man. Yeah, so no, I'm excited. I'm excited for the new book, but I haven't given out any details other than what a basic synopsis of what the plot is. And I'll tell you that if you're interested.
It's up to you. Like I don't. I would love to hear about it, but I mean, I also. I think avoiding spoilers, you're probably going to avoid spoilers, but like.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Okay,
It's
maybe you give us a hook, like.
Okay. It's 3 people realize that criminal pornographers are using footage of innocent bystanders, for their films to make a niche pornography that has people engaging in sexual activity, almost getting close to getting caught. Okay. And so without these bystanders' knowledge, their images are being used in these pornographic films. And these three people discovered that this is happening, and that they have become involved in these films, and their images are being used. So unlike a normal person who might go to the police or hire a lawyer, they decide the best way to foil these illicit pornographers is to travel to a server farm and destroy every computer in there. That's like erasing any evidence of themselves on these pornographic films, and having the catharsis in 2021 of destroying computer technology, I guess.
Wow.
It's very strange. It's very funny. So I'll tell you, there's some very odd characters in there. I know it's I'm really not concerned about anybody stealing this plot, Adam.
You never know. I mean, but it sounds original. Like I'd like to. The thing about Kissing Oblivion, I was trying to think how I would describe it now that I've read it. Is like it has elements of kind of magical realism, dark humor. Would you say that's like the kind of
yeah, for
genre
sure.
style of this one?
Yeah, I'd say there's not a whole lot of magical realism in this one. It's more just kind of very eccentric people thinking that this would be an ingenious way to solve a problem, and therein lies the comedy, I suppose. That they're odd. I suppose with Kissing Oblivion, there was a lot of magical realism, or some magical realism, and there was even more that I'd cut out of there. I always remember this. I had like this whole part about like the main character finding a pack of cigarettes that talk to him. And like a box of a pack of cigarettes almost looks like a mouth, And
yeah.
I just remember writing, I was like, what if this pack of cigarettes just started talking to this guy? And I included this, and then ultimately I ended up cutting it out of the book entirely. And I don't remember why. I guess it just didn't jive with the story. Or it was just, I guess it just didn't fit, and I ended up taking it out of it. But that's a little bit of a cutting room floor, I suppose, for.
You can throw it in another book somewhere down the line.
I throw it in another book, and yeah, we can find the talking pack of cigarettes somewhere else. But
Nice.
yeah, that was a fun one to write. I enjoyed that one, and people seem to like it. And thank you for reading it, by the way. I don't know of many folks in my own life, like I know the way I know you, who have read it. I've been, I've had folks tell me about it or ask questions about it on social media that I'd never met before, and that's always interesting and fun. And they've been very kind, but never have I I don't think any of my immediate friends have read it. I don't think any of my immediate friends have read any of my stuff. But they know I do it, but they just don't read it. They're just not readers.
Well, it's I think it was an interesting experience to me. I mean, I enjoyed it. It had like a really good sense of keeping me. I really wanted to know how this was going to end. Like that's every chapter I felt like, okay, there's more mysteries. Like I felt like we were going to get less, but now there's more mysteries. I'm like, I got to know how this is going to end. Where's this going? And this is, I think, the longest thing I've read by somebody that I know in person. Like I in college, I took a lot of creative writing classes where you do workshops, and usually it's short stories, like short pieces. So to me, this was fascinating because, I do know you from your podcast and like the talks we've had that I know your personality. So like I could really hear your voice as I read this, but also there was a story, and the characters I thought were very good. I thought, like some of these characters I could totally see in my head, and I could see this as a movie. This is it had kind of I could see like Jim Jarmusch or David Lynch or somebody like filming this, because it just has that sense of like unease and mystery, but also that dark humor that I was talking about that I liked. So I'm definitely wanting to read your other books, and I enjoyed it. I'm not like, I mean, there were, there were parts that I liked better than others, but overall, I thought it was very impressive, and I liked the book overall. So I'm recommending it, and I want to read your more current books though too. I want to see where your mind's at right now, and the untitled current book that you have coming. I'm excited to see. So let's talk a little about your both how you got started and kind of your process. So at what point did you say, like, is this like, have you been writing all your life, or is this something that at some point you said, I gotta write novels, like now's the
Yeah,
time?
no, I definitely, I was an only child, so I always had books around. They kind of kept me company. I was telling the story the other day on my podcast that my great grandmother had like a general store, and when I was like 7, 8 years old, my dad would bring me in there, and she'd be like, give the baby a bag, let him get whatever he wants." And so I'd have this bag, and I'd bag up comic books and bubble gum and candy and stuff, and I would go home with like this bag full of like comic books and candy, and I would just read comic books, and I developed a love for reading. I think my parents are both big readers, and I even, like, just the other day, Adam, I was cleaning my bedroom. My wife and I were cleaning the bedroom, and I literally have like this stapled together book that I came up with when I must have been like 5 or 6 years old. And I know I put it on Twitter. I think you can probably find it, but it's like red construction paper cover, and it's about like, it's a science fiction story, and it's just very, very simple. But
Can you tell us the title of that one?
I wish I could, man. You know what?
The
I wish
cover's
I could.
removed.
I
We just see the letter
I'm
R.
afraid somebody
I don't
will
know.
steal it, Adam. I don't want anybody to steal it. No, but like, so yeah. So I always loved books. I always loved reading. I'd had a blog for a while that I was doing daily around that time when blogs were really popular. And in the late aughts, a coworker of mine, who, I believe it or not, I I I had I'd had worked with for a time, and then we both got fired from the job that we were at, and now we're both working together again, literally, like, over 10 years later. But he said he had known I had a blog, and he said, "Hey, you're a pretty good writer. Would you ever consider doing National Novel Writing Month?" And I said, "No, I don't know anything about that." He said, "Well, the object is you try to write a 50,000 word manuscript in the month of November. So beginning on November 1st to the last day of the month, you try to get, the beginning, middle, end, or as much as you can of a 50,000 word manuscript." And I said, "Well, I'd give it a shot. I don't have anything else going on at nights, And he said, "All right." He said, "But you just know it's a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot of time, and you've got a wife, so you better tell your wife you're going to be spending time in front of the computer after work." And I said, "All right, well, give it a shot. What the hell?" So I did that, and that book ultimately became Unmagnificent Lives. And then what happened was, about 3 or 4 years later, a fellow who had read it from Utah named Roland Martinez, he came to New Hampshire. He actually moved to where I am in New Hampshire, not because of me, because of, because of a job opportunity, but he read my book. And he said, "Your book was pretty good. And I know you did it through National Novel Writing Month. Would you ever consider doing National Novel Writing Month again?" And I thought, yeah, I'd try it again. So when that November came around, that was November, I think, of 2013. He and I and another fella all tried National Novel Writing Month because I had an idea for a story. And of the three of us, I was the only one who'd finished. They were still working on their pieces at the end of the month. And that book ultimately became Who's Afraid of the Virgin Wolves, that came out in 2014. And that was the one I got my first check for, which was nice because I'm self-published. So, there's obviously no like advance or no money involved. And at that point, I think Amazon you had to like reach like a threshold money wise, like you had to hit a certain amount before they cut you a check and literally sent you a check. Now they'll send you $1.50 if that's all you get. They'll just drop it right into your account. And then I thought to myself, well, I've done this twice. and this seems to be something I'm okay at, and people seem to enjoy it, and I seem to be able to do it reasonably well. And what if I just try to do this every single year until I die? And so that's basically what I've done since. So now I'm 8 books in. It's 2021. I'm about to publish my 9th, and I'm excited about it. It's a good one. I'm so excited and happy. I'm happy. Like anytime I get an idea, I'm happy. You know what I mean?
So that's, you seem to like that format though, of like November. That's the time, and just like put your back into it in November, and then the rest of the year, like, revise it.
Just edit. Yeah, literally like every single day, like beginning like January 1st. Basically, like, yeah, my pattern, and I have no problem sharing this secret. This is no secret, but just write the entire book, or as the entire manuscript, in the month of November. Sometimes it takes me a little bit longer, but I ultimately always get my 50,000 words, because I write at least 2,000 words a day in the month of November. And again, sometimes it'll go over in terms of, if I need to wrap up the plot, et cetera, et cetera. And then I take the month of December off completely, and then January 1st, I begin editing, and I edit every single day. And what I'll do is I'll read the manuscript from beginning to end 12 times, changing it each time as I go. And after the 12th time, I'll let my wife read it. And it's my hopes that she'll see or find inconsistencies or continuity problems, or any kind of mistake you can imagine. She goes through with a pencil and tries to find anything I may have missed. And while she's doing that, I edit the book for the ebook edition, so that ultimately, when I'm okay with the inside of the book and the outside of the book, meaning the cover, and I'm okay with the ebook version, and everything looks nice and neat, and it's as good as it can be, I put it all out into the world at the same time via Amazon, and then Barnes and Noble picks it up also, and then that's it. And then I kind of cool my heels until the next one comes out. So I usually get maybe a month or 2 off before I start again in the following November. And hopefully I have an idea. And I'm fortunate whenever I get an idea. Oh my God, I'm so happy. Because it's hard to get an original idea. You don't want to be ripping people off. You don't want to be, you don't want to do something that somebody's already done. You want to be completely original. And I've got an idea for the 10th one already. I literally had it a couple of months ago. I think there was an episode of the podcast where I was so excited talking about it. I was screaming because I was just so happy about having an idea, like having got the idea.
So let me stop you there, because
yeah, go ahead.
So you're saying you do the writing in November, but so you have an idea right now. Are you keeping any kind of notes? Are you writing like a skeleton or an outline? Or are you just
yeah, man, I was really fortunate. Basically, I had this moment, and this is kind of the way it happens. And in every instance, I've been able to kind of see my characters, and I don't know how it happens, but I'm sort of like all at once. It's usually hit me, and that's kind of the way it happens. And when it's happened, it's been very odd, in that sometimes I'll be at the gym, sometimes I'll be driving my car, sometimes I'll be walking in the woods, and usually I'll see the characters. I'll have like the beginning and sometimes the end, maybe sometimes not the middle, but I'll know how it begins and I'll know how it ends. And I'll just get really emotional, and I'll just start, like, I've emoted, like I've literally just like been driving and crying, like, oh my God, what the hell is happening? Or on the treadmill at the gym in front of people, I'm like crying, like, I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I'm not saying this is sort of, I don't know if I believe in God or anything like that. It's like, I don't know if it's divine intervention. And I'm not saying like I'm some kind of mystical being that, somebody's just kind of like dropped a story into. I don't know if I believe any of that. I think it's just, I want so badly to have a great idea, an original idea, and that when it happens, I'm just so fucking thankful for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because
holy shit,
you're the first person who's seen that or experienced that, and you're like, if this has an effect on me, like, I hope it'll affect other people in a similar way, or
that's my hope. So and this time I've had it. I'll tell you the story if you're interested. It's a short story.
Sure.
And Momus is involved, of all people.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. All right. and you might know this too because it's either on the Athenian album or it's on Accordion, or maybe it's on Vivid. But somewhere he mentions shit. Who does he mention? God damn it! Figures I can't remember now. He mentions Oscar Wilde. Do you remember?
Which album or which song?
I'm not sure. That's the problem
Yeah,
because I've got all
I'm
these
not sure.
albums.
I
I'm
don't
always
remember it
listening
on
to
Vivid. I don't think it's on
it. But
Vivid.
it might. I don't know. But I just remember him mentioning Oscar Wilde, just in passing, and I just started thinking about Oscar Wilde, and I was like, Oscar Wilde, like, oh my God, what a story that guy had. You know, what a compelling person. What an interesting just character in history that guy, you know, that the things that he had to live through and that he was as compelled as he was to keep going amidst all this, you know, oppression at that time. And I was thinking about Oscar Wilde, and I remember I got home from wherever I was in the car, listening to Momus, hearing him, you know, again, mention Oscar Wilde in passing. And then my mind starts going into thinking about Oscar Wilde. And then what is that, Adam? What is
You
going
heard that?
on?
I forgot
Yes.
about this. It's my fucking neighbors. They're cutting a tree or something. I don't know. I almost said we should reschedule because I didn't know if they were going to be. Yeah, it sounds like.
Are they cutting a tree in their house? Where are they?
No, it's we have a shared yard, and I have one neighbor that I share a yard with, and they decided because we had some like weather and like some of the trees got just I don't know, some bullshit. I don't know. Anyways, hopefully it won't be too loud.
Anyway, so I'm thinking of Oscar Wilde. I get home, I'm sitting on like the love seat, and I'm watching I think it was the Ballad of Buster Scruggs. You know, that Coen Brothers film, that like Western vignettes that they did for Netflix. Did you see any of those?
I don't know if I saw that.
All right. Anyways, it was like these series of Western vignettes, and some of them were better than others. And I had it just like on closed captioning. And then my daughter is in the kitchen, and she's playing the Sex Pistols album, Nevermind the Bollocks. You know, and I can hear that, and like I'm thinking about Oscar Wilde, and my daughter is playing, and like I'm gonna tell you, like none of this shit has anything to do with the fucking plot of this book. Like none of it does. But like a fucking bolt of lightning, like it all hit me, and I got the whole fucking thing, beginning, middle, and end, dude. I pull out my phone. I'm just writing the whole fucking thing down in my phone. I immediately email it to myself, and I was like, "That's it. I got fucking book 10 right there. There it is."
I feel like you just got the idea right now.
I
feel like I'm getting the experience of your emotion.
Oh my God,
at the time.
dude. I was just so happy. And when I think about it, obviously, like right now, I'm just so fucking happy. You know what I mean? Because I'm lucky, man. Dude, there's writers that fucking they're gonna have nothing. You know what I mean? They've got nothing, and they try to come up with something, and and I feel bad. And ultimately, it could take years. And dude, like all I know is like I want so badly to have an original idea and be able to like fall in love with the story and characters and be able to bring them to life. And like I just like I'm not being paid. I'm not like under contract. I don't have a fucking agent. I don't have a publisher. It's just fucking me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got to count on me, dude. And I got to work a full-time job. I got to keep my shit going. You know what I mean? I got a family to take care of. I got health insurance, and I'm not crying or complaining. I'm just saying, people will only remember what I do if I keep doing it. You're only as good as like the last fucking thing you did.
I don't know how you work a full-time job and have a family and do all this thing and a podcast and that's overwhelming.
It's a lot, dude. I literally just before like less than an hour before I got on this call with you, I just finished an album review. Like I was just like, I've got things to do all the time. I told you, like yesterday I recorded the podcast. Like I'm always doing. I just need to be creative. I just feel like in the way that you say, and I don't know if you've ever talked about this, but I know you've talked about it with me one-on-one, and I hope you don't mind me saying this. And it's a compliment. You said, this is my art. Meaning like what you do, whether it's interviewing people, whether it's tarot cards, whether it's, making, funny videos, whatever you're doing, it's your art, right? And you're compelled to do it. And you've said that. And like, that's the way I feel. Like, this is what I'm compelled to do. This is what I need to do. And this is what I'll do until I die. That's it.
Huh. Well, I'm reminded of something my one of my piano teachers told me when she was saying that like what if what if you never make it and never make it as a big name in music? You never make it like she said, well, at least you have your music. Like I was like, and like I think that's like one of the best pieces of advice. Like if you're not doing it because you enjoy it of itself, like regardless of where it takes you, then you probably shouldn't be doing it.
No, I agree wholeheartedly that, yeah, if it wasn't fun, there would be no reason to do it. Is it work? Yeah, it's work. Is it frustrating? Sometimes, but ultimately the reward is worth it. You know what I mean? In the end, to
Yeah,
get a finished product and something that you're proud of, to be able to put something out into the world.
yeah. So
And
so right now you are kind of fleshing out a skeleton of what you're going to write in November,
for sure. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
you kind of one of the ideas I heard from Isaac Asimov, it says like just as long as you have the end in mind, you can how you get there may change along the way, but
Yeah.
if you don't have the end in mind, you're unlikely to finish the book because you're just going to be like pissing in the wind or whatever the metaphor is.
I've heard is, and a friend of mine told me this. He said, Andy, there's two kinds of writers. There's magicians and there's architects. And architects have it all planned out. They know exactly what the characters are, what they'll be doing when, and how it's going to work right up until the very end. And then magicians, maybe they'll have an idea for the beginning and the end, maybe, and then they'll kind of make it work it somehow in the middle, or they'll make it up as a little bit, or they have an ending, like you said about Asimov, and they'll have to make it up to figure out how they get there ultimately. And I definitely consider myself more of a magician in that sense, where I've usually got the beginning and the end, and I can somehow make my way through the middle to make it interesting enough to bring it around full circle and come up with a great third act. But yeah, I don't know.
Cool. So November 1st hits, your 2,000 words a day is your. How long does that usually take? I haven't written so long. Like I don't know how long does 2,000 words take you?
Well, I'm a pretty good typist. I can usually, if I have a day mapped out, usually what I try to do is during my lunch breaks and my 2 breaks during the day that I take at my full-time job, I'll try to map out where I want to go with the characters that night and where I wanted the plot to go. And that obviously makes things a lot easier when I sit down to write after the end of the day. When ultimately, when I'm editing, a day's work may be pulled entirely and replaced with something else. But during the month of November, each day, yeah, I'm just mapping it out so that when I sit down to write at the end of the night, I've got notes to refer to, so I kind of like, okay, this is what's going to happen with this person, and this person's going to do this, and this one's going to do this, and then this thing's going to happen, and it'll take me between I'd say it'll take me between 2.5 hours and 4 hours.
And I the funny thing about Kissing Oblivion, I was trying to remember, was this told in the first person or not? And the thing is,
yeah,
like, I haven't looked because it's so
yeah.
it's either in first person or it's very close to that, like a very close third person. So I couldn't really tell you, like, just off the top of my head, because I feel like I was so close to this character. I want to say it's in first person, but
it is in first person.
Okay.
Yeah, I think all but one of my books are in first person. Wolfish Girl had to be written from a different perspective because the ending involved the primary character in a way that without giving anything away, in a way that it couldn't be written in first person. And I'd planned that, but otherwise all my books are in first person. Yeah, although I can't say all the characters are necessarily supposed to be somewhat in place of me. I think the last book I published, Where Are You Now, Randy Dow, was written from the perspective of an 11-year-old girl, which I have no. I know I'm not a girl, and I was 11 once, but yeah. So yeah, basically, first person.
And your characters are pretty strong. Like, how do you? I guess let me talk about writing in general. Like, how did you? I feel like develop or learn writing. Is it just from reading other stories and working on your own stuff, or did you like read books about writing or get any
Yeah,
classes?
a little of all that. I read all year long. Basically, I always have a book going. Um, I'm always reading, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. I tend to read a lot of fiction, uh, and and I have read books on writing, and I found them helpful. One book that a friend recommended, and I was so leery of reading, was Stephen King's book on writing. Do you know that book?
Yeah, I've read that one actually. Even though I haven't
And
read any of Stephen King's books, I've read that one somehow.
yeah,
It's pretty good. Like
I,
I found it pretty solid. Yeah.
same with me. I was concerned though, because I already started writing and publishing my own books, and I thought, what if I read this book and like Stephen King thinks I'm doing everything wrong? You know what I mean? And I'm the kind of person where I would have felt self-conscious and terrible if he was really heavy-handed in his way to do things, and a right way and a wrong way to do things, et cetera, et cetera. But the friend who recommended it was insistent and said, no, it's not like that at all. Trust me, you can read this book and feel okay. And I read it, and yeah, similarly to yourself, I felt like it was solid, and there were some great tips in there, and I never felt like there was anything in there that had me walking away going, oh god damn it, I can't believe I did it all wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Writing is an art. You really can't do it wrong. I mean, there's experimental novels that are batshit crazy out there. I don't know if you've ever read oh man, I'm remembering this dude. I forget his name. I probably shouldn't even mention it because I won't even mention it. But there's some experimental writers that you read their shit and you're like, what the fuck? How would you even critique this? It's almost like critic proof, because it's just so bizarre. But yeah, no, I read that Stephen King on writing and I really enjoyed it, and I really got a lot out of it.
Cool.
For sure.
Nice.
And so I said a little bit of both. And then I wasn't like an English major. I was a business major in college, but I did take writing courses, and I did fairly well at them. And one thing that I was always told I did well at was creative writing. So I felt somewhat confident that I could do it and do it well.
Wow. And then why 12 revisions? Why that number?
I think Stephen King in that on writing book,
Oh,
I think he said I think like initially, and I'll tell you, before that book, I think I was doing 9. And
wow.
then in Stephen King's on writing, he said I read each of my books from beginning to end and edit them 12 times. And I thought, well, I'm doing 9. What the hell's an extra 3? Yes. So I tacked on an extra 3, and I just said, okay, we'll see. It was good enough for Stephen King, right? I don't know. Wow. So yeah.
That's it. So you pretty much you like that format of November and then the 12 revisions. That works.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of OCD, I suppose. I'm kind of a compulsive person. I don't think I'd be doing all the things that I'm doing currently, year in and year out, week in and week out, if I didn't have somewhat of a compulsive personality. So
yeah, well, if you don't have to think about what you're going to do at a certain time, it allows you to like just get into it and do it. And I think
that's a good point.
It allows you like that's the reason I have a novel that I've been working on for like the last few years. But I say working on because I'm hardly even, every now and then I open it and look at it and type a few words, and that's why it's taking so long. And I don't know if it's ever going to finish, but maybe I should just like put it aside and do like something in November. I don't know. We'll see.
No, if you ever want to do it with me, I'll be your writing buddy.
I have till November. When's November? Today's July, August, September. I don't know.
If you want to try to push each other in November, I'll be doing it. And believe it or not, and this goes for anybody watching this who's interested in National Novel Writing Month, you can find me on NaNoWriMo's page, and I literally post my word count every day in the month of November. And if you want to buddy up, feel free, reach out.
Oh, it's peer pressure.
For real.
I'm gonna think about it. I kind of want to finish this other one that I'm working on. I don't know. I'm actually just gonna reread what I have so far. It's only like 6,000 words, so that's like 3 days for you. That's nothing. That's
yeah. It sounds like 3 days, but like I said, like ultimately, you got a 50,000 word manuscript but ultimately, 10,000 of those words may come out and be completely replaced within the 12 edits that I'm doing, and then, in some cases there's more added, but I found that I've been able to tell a decent story in about 150 to 160 pages. And that's what I do. That's what I can do. If I had more time, say I was retired, I might try something longer, but I think for, again, having to work a full-time job and take care of a family and do the other things that I do, creatively and otherwise, because my parents are up there, I've got to take care of my parents. And I think like 150 to 160 word novel works for me every year.
Well,
I can do that.
It's a good length, because if people want to read it in like one day, they can. Like if they like, I've done that. I've done that. Like, if a novel if it's under 200 pages and you really want to, you can. I haven't done it in many years, but like when I was younger, I did read books sometimes like that in one day. Like I could think of a lot of like short books, like I don't know if you ever read Behold the Man, that science fiction novel. It's very short.
I don't know that novel. No.
Yeah, it's like this time travel story. There's other ones, and I was also thinking about what you were talking about, how you were kind of in our last talk, you were kind of deprecating your writing, saying that it's not like, because I read Ulysses or Thomas Pynchon,
Well, yeah, you read some heavy authors.
But I'm also reading, I'm rereading Jack Kirby's Forever People, which is like very simplistic in some ways, but it's
that's written for children. Yeah.
hey.
No, it's great. No, Jack Kirby was the master. I don't mean to deprecate Jack Kirby, but I think at that point in comic books, and I love comic books, they were writing for like a mainstream audience consisting largely of younger people, for sure.
Totally, yeah. But I'm saying I can enjoy different things on the spectrum, and it doesn't have to be. Nobody wants every book to be. I mean, I am still reading Thomas Pynchon's Mason and Dixon, which is like 800 pages, and it'll take me a year. It's like I just read it slowly, and like. But then on the other hand, I just started reading a Philip K. Dick novel, which I haven't read him in so many years. But
which one?
The Simulacra. It's his one from 1964. Have you read that one, or do you know that?
I haven't. You want to see one I found last weekend? I don't know if you saw this. I put it on Twitter. Hang on a second. I literally have it right here.
Oh yeah, I've read that one.
You have, and I've heard nothing but great things about it. I found it at the Goodwill near my mom's house for $2.
Well, the thing about Dick is that he had some amazing ideas, but a lot of times the books would start stronger than they finished. I would say his endings are one of his weakest areas, and I think with that one, I don't remember. It's been like 20 years since I've read it, but like the ending, I feel like it kind of peters out. But I do kind of remember. I don't know if it's in that book. You can tell me after you've read it, but like I feel like there was some. He always has these ideas that he just tosses off, like they're just like. So he has like this. There's like this technology in which people can just like press a button, and like in their brain, like they have the experience of like an orgasm. So it's like there are people that are just like junkies. They're just like pressing the button, and that's all they do all day. I feel like there's something like that in that book. That's just great. So Philip K. Dick, and I'm admiring.
It's so funny.
How Go much ahead. I'm sorry, he does. Please. Sorry. He in just the first 2 chapters, he's introduced 3 different scenarios, and they're 3 unrelated groups of people, but you know that they're going to slowly converge. That's a very Philip K. Dick thing to do, is just like slowly draw people towards like some magnetic attractor later in the book. But what were you going to say?
I was going to say that I think of all the authors that I see, like, I don't have a lot of money, so I'll buy a lot of, like, if I buy books, it'll be like used books mostly from like thrift stores or like Goodwill or whatever. Not a whole lot of new books every year. And I take a lot of stuff out of the library, but Philip K. Dick's stuff, I guess, was so, it must have been so, and I use the word ubiquitous. He had a book called Ubic, basically ubiquitous, but the word ubiquitous, but I just stumble across his stuff everywhere. Like literally that Flow My Tears, the Policeman said, it was like, oh yeah, here's this book. And I found it at the same place I'd found like 2 of his collections. And I a couple years ago, I'd read so much Philip K. Dick. I was like, do I even like this, or am I just reading this just because it's so easily obtainable and there's so many like used, paperbacks of his stuff everywhere, and our library is full of his stuff. So it's kind of a weird thing, but no, it's good writing. It's good. He's got a lot of great ideas, but that guy was cranking them out, those stories. These volumes, man, I found 2 huge volumes, and I read them both of his stuff. And I think there were like 5 of these, and they were just like all his short stories, just like the guy I think he had like a shed in his backyard, and he was just cranking these pot boilers out just to keep the lights on.
He did at one point in the 60s release like a novel like every 2 months. It was ridiculous.
Yeah,
and
man.
some of them are like, that was like when he was at his, like he was starting to like get really good books, like some of them. It's, yeah, like when you have that, when you're at that point, it's like you see so many different career paths that people take. Sometimes they'll take a break and then they lose it. Sometimes they keep going and they burn out. Sometimes they are able to maintain it and they just like ease off. It's just, you have all these different, I was thinking about burning out. Like I just heard that yesterday, 50 years ago, Jim Morrison died. I don't know if you heard that, which is kind of,
Yeah, I did hear that. Yeah,
it's amazing. It's been 50 years.
I
I
know.
don't know, totally random, but
An author that I'd read not long ago, and I'd had him on my mind a lot. And you talk about career paths, and I don't know if you're familiar with this guy. And maybe we talked about him, and if we did, I apologize for bringing him up again because I like to try to keep conversations fresh. But Donald E. Westlake, he wrote under a bunch of pseudonyms, but he would crank out like 5 or 6 books a year, and it was he wrote this Parker character, and it was a lot of like crime, noir kind of novels. And he wrote right up until like he passed, I think in the 2000s, like early 2000s. But I write 1 book a year, and people are like, wow, how can you do that? I'm thinking to myself, like, shit, man, like these guys had to keep the lights on. They would have to crank out like 5 books a year, 6 books a year. Just unbelievable. That kind of, and to be able to have that many like new ideas in 1 year is, to me, is to have like that fertile an imagination. Like the imagination of Philip K. Dick is just incredible. I'm happy if I get more. Like I said, I get ecstatic if I get 1 original idea. I can't imagine getting 5 in 1 year, but it's obviously not unheard of. Yeah. And had I the time to do that, perhaps I'd be able to pull enough from my own experiences and my own imagination to come up with more plots to put out more books every year. I would love to be able to do that, but yeah, things are what they are. Do the best I can.
Yeah. Well, I wish I could tell the people the title, but it'll happen soon. Oh yeah, we talked about having you on again. We should when the book is out.
Oh, yeah.
When I've read it, I want to be able to like let people know about it and use the actual title and remind people that it's out there. Would you say it's?
I would love that.
Do you feel it's your best book to date?
It's definitely my most humorous book to date, okay, for sure. Cool. And I definitely love it. And
who are you? I'm excited. Who are the authors that you think are the funniest? Like, who are the funniest authors you've read?
Oh, Kurt Vonnegut is. I think like I every once in a while I read a book and I'll laugh out loud once or twice maybe. I think I read Vonnegut's Breakfast of Champions, and I literally like was laughing so hard I was crying, and I had to like put the book down, like just because it was so funny. Have you ever read Breakfast of Champions?
Yeah, I've read most of Vonnegut, and that's definitely one of the funnier ones, especially because it has so many illustrations.
Yeah, the illustrations are funny. Yeah, but the characters are just like he basically just like these like they're so hard luck people and just like struggling, and it just, I don't know, it just makes me laugh so hard. Just like that book made me laugh so hard. And strangely enough, I don't know if you ever saw this, but like Vonnegut once critiqued all of his books and gave them all a letter grade.
Did you gave that C+, I think, right?
I think he gave it a C.
I've seen that.
I was like, oh my God, that's like my favorite of yours. And he gave it a C, I mean, I love Slaughterhouse-Five too. I mean, Slaughterhouse-Five is incredible, but
you've read Cat's Cradle.
Cat's Cradle, I didn't care for particularly,
Really?
but I read that really early on, so maybe I should give it another shot. I always think about that one because I know people love it, and I know that it's thought of very fondly when you think of his bibliography. But the first time I read it, and I've only read it once, and it was very early in when I was exploring Vonnegut, and I didn't find it that enjoyable. But maybe it's just I wasn't used to his style, and I should return to it or give it a shot. I probably will. But yeah, I always think of Breakfast of Champions just because I don't remember laughing so hard ever reading a book. I thought that book was so funny. But yeah, so he's definitely funny. I think, as far like, I don't know if you've ever read Chuck Klosterman's fiction. Like, he writes a lot of nonfiction. He writes about music and culture and sports even, but he's put out a couple novels. And his book Downtown Owl was very funny. I thought that was good. And he wrote a book called The Visible Man that was also quite funny.
Huh.
So I think he's a funny writer too.
I don't know him at all. I'll have to check him out.
Well, who else is very funny is Sarah Vowell. She writes nonfiction. She writes a lot of about history, and she's got this very dry sense of humor, and it's very good.
Oh,
It's
cool.
another humorous writer. I've read most of her stuff. She's very good.
Yeah, I don't know either of those last two. I'll have to check them out.
How about you? Who do you like as far as humor is concerned, as far as authors?
I like Vonnegut a lot. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the authors I mentioned, like all the time in my channel, that I like, Pynchon and Joyce. A lot of people don't think of them as funny, but they're hilarious in parts. But they're a lot of work. I can understand why people don't make it to the funny parts. Mark Lehner, I mentioned a lot. He's hilarious. I love his spoken word stuff. Especially the first thing I read by him, or I listened to by him, was the audiobook for My Cousin, My Gastroenterologist. I listened to that several times over and over, and it was just like, sometimes he'll just have like a sentence, like the first sentence of a chapter, like some girl, like, I forget how it goes, but like some girl at some high school had the largest prefrontal lobe, and I don't know, it's like it's talking about her brain size. It's just stupid things like that, but his vocabulary and stuff is just, I don't know, it makes me laugh. But
I've still yet to read his stuff, but I want to, and I know it's on my Goodreads queue, in part because you've spoken so highly of him, and I've watched your YouTube channel when you've discussed his books or reviewed his books, and you're obviously always so complimentary because you're fond of what he does, and I would definitely like to check his stuff out eventually.
Yeah, I really do like his stuff, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot of other people, and a lot of people that write mainly comics that I could mention too, but there's just so many. But for prose authors, I don't know. I can't really be looking at my books. I don't know. Like, there's different stuff. I don't have a lot of books here right now, so I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not. Thing is, I'm not reading. Oh, you know what? I just remembered. Have you read The Princess Bride? I mean, the movie's great too, but
no, it was who wrote that?
William Goldman. Yeah.
Okay, all right. No, I haven't. I mean, I saw the film, but I never
That's
read
hilarious.
The book. The book was good.
It has a lot of things that aren't in the movie. Yeah, so I think that's a very funny book. That's like one of the few examples of like what I consider a perfect novel. It's just, it doesn't have like any parts that you could take out. It's perfect, and it's wonderful, and it is as good as people say. And the movie's great too. But yeah, that's another one that I would have to include, I think.
Very good.
Yeah.
Do you ever read any Hunter S. Thompson, Adam?
I read Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, like when I was probably about 20, and I was probably too young, and I wasn't much of it. I didn't drink or do drugs at all really growing up. So like, I don't feel like I was ready to read that, I guess, maybe. But do you like him a lot?
He's okay. I was just thinking of like authors that I think folks consider humorous. I think Hunter S. Thompson, the person, was probably more humorous, in my opinion, than his writing was. You know what I mean? As far as his style, I remember a buddy of mine telling me that there was like a Hunter S. Thompson book signing. I don't know if he had gone to it, but he said he just said, like, he just had a stamp, and it was literally like a stamping his, I don't even know if it was his signature, like just literally just like stamping books and then like passing it on to the table, you know. But just I suppose as a character, he was kind of more funny. I don't think I ever found his books particularly humorous, but yeah, like yourself, I read Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and then I remember reading like a collection of like essays of his. I think it was called The Great Shark Hunt or something like that. It was like pieces that he'd written for the Washington Post over like a year and a half, and it was all politics in the 80s. And again, not really funny, but maybe it had to be there. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I like Rum Punch. Rum Punch was okay too. I think my brother-in-law lent me that book, and I thought it was okay. But again, not really funny. But I know people think of him as a funny author, but again, I think more funny person, I suppose, or definitely eccentric individual.
Well, there are books that I've read like when I was younger that I thought were hilarious, and I have no idea how that I hesitate to recommend now because I don't know if they would still be funny. Like when we were talking about like authors that wrote writing books, do you know Ben Bova, the science fiction author?
I've seen his work. I have never read Ben Bova.
I've only read
knowingly it was
two
like
of
an
his
anthology
books.
or something.
Yeah, he wrote quite a lot of different things, but he had a pretty good writing book that I liked called How to Write Science Fiction That Sells. But he also had a novel that I read called Cyber Books. This was before ebooks. This is like in the early 90s or something. And I remember it being, I think I read it as a teenager and thinking it was hilarious. But I don't know if humor ages and people change. So I don't know if it's still funny. I have no idea. There was a book called The Dice Man. Do you know The Dice Man? It was kind of a...
Oh, I know of it.
Luke Reinhardt.
I know of that, and it's on my Goodreads queue, but I can't remember the author. Who is it?
Luke Reinhardt. It's not Andrew Dice Clay.
No, I know like the Dice Man, but no, I know of that book, and I remember the plot of it too. It's basically a guy that like rolls the dice every time he has to make a serious decision in his life or something, right?
Yeah, and I remember that being really funny too when I was like 20 or 21 or so. But again, I don't know if it'd still be funny. I have no clue, but who knows? Anyway, those are just some ideas we can. I'm more curious, I think, about the authors you mentioned, but I read so few novels nowadays that I just read more magazines and nonfiction. But any book by you, any novel or otherwise, I want to check out, and I think I'm not sure if I'll get to Unmagnificent Lives before your next novel comes out or not, but one of those will be my next. Either your first book or your most recent book will be the next thing I read by you, and I look forward to it.
Oh, right on, man. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks so much. My goal is, I think, if anything, it's to write something so compelling and so likable that whoever reads it will want to seek out other stuff that I've done. That's my hope.
I just thought of one question that I meant to ask. I don't know if this is something that you'd be totally against or not, but like when I released a short little, not even a book, like a little booklet a few years back called Beyond Bitcoin. It was about,
yes,
I don't know, it was a stupid book, but anyways, I released it for free, basically the ebook on like I think maybe on YouTube but also on like Pirate Bay, which is like for BitTorrent. Like, anyways, and it got like more attention than any of my other books because of that. I don't think it sold better particularly, but it put like the ideas out there. So like, is that something you would ever do? Like release a book for free, or is that like something?
Yeah. Basically, I did do that with Unmagnificent Lives in the way that it's available on Amazon Unlimited. If you're like an Amazon Prime subscriber, you can read it for free. Or I think it's like for digital download, I think it's $1.99. And I did something similar with my seventh book, which was Now We Have Nothing. And I made that available for free via Amazon Unlimited, which again is for Prime subscribers. And I think that one's also as a digital copy. I think you can get it for just $1.99. I'm pretty sure $1.99. But yeah, for sure. And my thinking was that every seventh book, I'll just do that. I'll just put it out essentially, for free. And also, yeah, the other thing with that book, and because I'd written it just before the pandemic hit or published it before the pandemic hit and everything shut down, my library reached out to me and said, hey, we have this digital platform that's accessible by anybody in our library or otherwise. And we were hoping that you'd make one of your books available via this platform so that folks who are homebound because of the pandemic can read it. So I absolutely made Now We Have Nothing available for free to read on this e-reading service. And the link is on my Facebook, my writer's Facebook page. I wish I could remember the name of the service now, but it is out there. You can probably find it. I could send you an ad, Adam, and you can include it
Yeah,
if
I'll
you'd like.
include anything down
Yeah.
below.
So
And
that one's absolutely free to read electronically, at least. Now We Have Nothing. It's out there, and and Unmagnificent Lives is available via Amazon Unlimited for free for Amazon Prime subscribers. But yeah, I remember hearing Neil Gaiman say the same thing about American Gods at the time when there was a lot of controversy over electronic reading material and novels being made available via BitTorrent and whatnot. And there was a lot of folks that were dead against it, thinking that it would cut into sales. And Neil Gaiman said that he put American Gods out for free. I don't know if it was for a limited time or whatnot, as an ebook. And he said he got, like yourself, got so much more readership just from putting that out there for free from folks who read it and then wanted to read other stuff that he'd written, that he thought it was a great success because of that, and was all for it. So yeah, I'm for that too. And I'll send you the link so that you can include that, because of the two, I Unmagnificent Lives, like I said, I'm proud of it, but it was my first. Now We Have Nothing is I just wrote that a couple of years ago, and I'd love for folks for that to be their first one that they'd read of mine, and then hopefully would want to read more.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely we'll include that. And nice. I thought of one other book that was pretty funny, Good Omens, which Neil Gaiman co-wrote.
Oh yeah, yep. Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett.
Yeah, I read that as a teenager,
Okay.
so again, I have no idea. It's been so long.
It was okay. Yeah, I liked it. I read it for the first time only a couple of years ago. And I don't remember thinking it was particularly funny, but I was like, I get it. It's all right. I thought, Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy was pretty funny.
Oh yeah, that whole series. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
There's so many books you just forget about.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, I think we covered a lot of territory. I didn't mean to keep you for like an hour. I apologize, but I feel like we covered a lot of good material. Like, is there anything else you want to? Well, like I said, I'll link to whatever you want to link to down below, and I hope people will continue to check out your podcast, your books, and whatever else you create online.
Well, thanks so much, Adam. I appreciate you talking. As always, you're a friend, and I enjoy what you do, and I appreciate you, having me on to talk. Thank you so much, buddy.
Cool, Andy. All right, we'll talk to you later, man.